Are we good to go? I think we are. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of PFN Live. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
And I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell. And today, as you can tell from the title and earlier today, we're going to be discussing all the new DC news that came out earlier today. But first, we're going to get to what we've been watching lately. We're going to get into our Last of Us Episode 3 review. And then, like I just said, we'll go to the DC talk. So first, I don't know if Sean's coming back, but all right, let's get into what we've been watching the past.
Oh, that's much better.
Week. I'll start. Personally, I've again not watched many movies. I watched one in the past week.
What was it?
I watched Peter Pan. Don't know. I don't remember why I watched it.
Was this
think it
like
was-
2004
Oh, I know what it
Jason
was.
Isaacs?
It was Peter Pan, like 1956 or whatever it was.
Oh,
1953. I remember why I watched it. Is Danielle's niece and nephew stayed at our house this past weekend, and we took them to go see
that's
Disney
nice.
on Ice. And I leaned over to Danielle, and I was like, "Is Peter Pan going to be in this thing?" And she was like, "No." It was Moana, Cinderella,
tell me Ursula was there.
Rapunzel. No, there was no Little Mermaid. Beauty and the
Darth
Beast,
Vader.
and what is that one? The kid with the guitar. I always forget his name.
Encanto.
Yes, Encanto. Yes.
Miguel.
Those were like the movies that were represented in the characters. I don't know if have you ever been to Disney on Ice? As a
I
kid?
have.
Yeah.
Probably 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Or some maybe less than that. Maybe like 12 15 years ago, I think.
Mhm.
I only asked about Little Mermaid because when I was a kid, I guess it was probably in like fifth or sixth grade probably. But just one of the things that's like seared in my brain is
Oko, not Encanto. Danielle said. Whoops.
I said it so confidently too.
Yeah.
I said it so confidently. One of the things that's like seared into my mind is Ursula and Mike Wazowski being on the ice at the same time, and I was like, "What is going on here?" But that Ursula, that's like a core memory in my brain. That was some scary shit, and I think I was like 10 or so.
I think
I
I think that's probably one of those I went to. Is
yeah.
I went younger too, and I feel like there was like this big kind of blow up thing, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But Peter Pan, yeah. So I think I might have to do like a little round, like go around Disney Plus and rewatch like all the really old,
yeah.
like animated movies. But Peter Pan, still for me a good movie. Obviously some very problematic things being depicted in that movie, which I don't know when they started, but you know how they do, like in the details, it was like, oh, this movie has things that talk
Oh
about
yeah, the like
views that
time
were like,
warning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now they do it like right at the beginning too. 'Cause I
Mm.
don't know when they started doing that. I don't know if that was always a thing. I don't think it was.
I
But
don't
now
think
there's
so.
like a quick 10-second screen like with that whole message on it before the actual movie, which I was like, oh, okay, because how many people are gonna scroll into like the details section? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
or yeah, exactly. Or go into like the
Um,
more show me more or something like. They're
yeah,
not going to do
but-
that.
Something really hit for me again with this movie. The music just like it just makes the whole thing.
It whisked you away.
Yes, it did very much so. And yeah, I want to go back and watch I think last year at some point I started Snow White again, and I got like 5 minutes into it, and I was like, I don't feel like watching this. Now I want to sleep.
Yeah.
So I watched that. Obviously watched Last of Us, and I just finished. Well, I shouldn't say finished The Office because I didn't go episode 1 to episode season 9, the last episode. I kind of skipped around. I think I said last week that I started. Once I was starting repeating, I ended up at season 7.
Yeah.
And then, so basically, I went from season 7 to the end in the past week, and that's just kind of it's been on in the background, throughout the day, etc.
Yeah. You've been absorbing it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, that show it just hits you in all the right spots. Especially those last few episodes where everybody's kind of finishing their story and their arc, and you know, it really puts you in the feels, I guess. Character that I have disliked more after rewatching is Nelly, especially when she
everybody with the Nelly hate,
when she first like gets to Scranton and like takes like the manager position.
Andy's job.
I'm like, I'm just like, you're just sitting here like nobody, like you just took this job. It's not your job, and you're sitting here acting like, well, it's like, well, nobody was here. So, and granted, I do get it. He was, where was he at that point? He was in Florida.
He was in Florida. Yeah. He was doing nothing.
So in fairness, you know, but that was annoying.
Yeah.
What else?
Toby.
Robert California. For me personally, I you know, Danielle, not a Robert California fan. I really like Robert California. I think he's really funny. Just he's not, obviously that character's not really trying to be funny. He's just like, you know,
that's just his nature.
He is the way he is. I did laugh when David Wallace like buys the company and Robert comes out. He goes, "Hi, Bob Kazamakis." That was like,
oh my god. And then he gets him to invest.
Yeah. Or even like you know, there's obviously there's a lot of like awkward moments like in that show just through every season.
Yeah.
But like when the athlete like guys want Jim to like call David Walls and ask him to like invest in the company, and I was like, that is the most like, I could not imagine doing that. Like that's like the most cringiest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, really good show. And I started like, I think I watched the first season of Parks and Rec, and I just never went back to it. But I think I'm gonna give it another shot.
Yeah, I think it definitely deserves it. I really I think I saw this interview with, I think it was Actors on Actors or something like that, one of those series. And it was oh my god, I'm blanking on her name, but the woman who the main head of Abbott Elementary, that she just won all those awards.
I don't know her name.
It was her and Adam Scott. And she said something comparing, because they were talking about Abbott Elementary, and she was like, you know, a lot of people come up to me and they'll say, oh my god, it's just, you know, it's like I feel like The Office is back, like I have The Office back. But she was like, talking to Adam Scott, she was like, but I always felt like, you know, it's more like Parks and Rec than The Office, because she said Parks and Rec is way more like all the characters are like, hi, here's my story. Hi, here's my story. Like they're like inviting.
Quinta Brunson, by the way.
Quinta
Daniel
Brunson.
said Quinta, and I look it up.
Boom. Yes, that makes sense now that I hear it. Like she was like, all the Parks and Recs characters are super inviting, whereas The Office is like, it's just, you're just kind of thrust into these people's lives, and you're there kind of whether they like it or not. Like, and then I think she made a great analogy that was like, in Parks and Rec, if they asked like the camera people not to film something, they actually wouldn't. But in The Office, if the Office characters asked them not to film something, they'd hide behind a bush. Like that's like just the perfect way to compare like the two different characters. But yeah, I think I have not really delved back into The Office, which is like crazy for me, in almost like 2 years, I would say. Definitely I have not watched it all the way through since it left Netflix. But I mean, as you know, like that is one of my favorite shows of all time. I've watched it, you know, literally over like 30 times. But I worry about slipping into like a Peacock like Office overdose. Like, I don't know.
Just real quick too, speaking of Peacock, I was just browsing like an hour ago, just like looking what they had. I think we've talked about it. Like as far as original, they're kind of like lacking, unless it's like a movie that, you know, came out in theaters and now it's on Peacock. But like as far as like back catalog, they have like a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
they got
like I
a
said,
lot
Office,
of like
Parks and Rec. If you're into those like older shows, they got like, I don't know, Murder She Wrote, or they got what's it called? Cheers, and what's the other one? Spinoff that you love.
Frasier.
Frasier, yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
Like they got all that stuff on there. But as far as originals, I feel like they're still kind of lacking.
Yeah, they have to catch up. All right.
Your turn.
I have been. Jeez. I have been watching a couple different things. So today's the 31st. Last week, I finished the John Wick trilogy that I was watching through. I watched that one day per movie. I literally had 3 opening shifts in a row, and every single night I went and watched John Wick, which was fantastic, an amazing like triple header basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched The Founder, which I just love that movie a lot. Then I went with my mother and I finally rewatched Avatar: The Way of Water, which was absolutely incredible as I remember it being. Then I also watched this movie, the small like horror movie on I think it was on Peacock. Yeah, it was on Peacock, called Sick. Which was a very, very good movie. I won't go into a full review on that one, just to say that I think that it was a very, very great. It's like 80-minute, like cheapo horror movie that is fantastic, actually scary, interesting things they do with it. And I think the biggest standout to me, like when I finished with it, it was the first movie that used the pandemic like as a part of the movie that didn't bother me. It was like I felt like it earned it in the movie, and it used it in interesting ways, especially in the beginning. Like, but it was very entertaining. And then the last thing before I get into the one that I really want to talk about here is, as you know, I've been going on UK Disney Plus a bunch. And so I looked at I just wanted to look at all the different collections on there, because I still think where Disney Plus is absolutely lacking on, which is weird because the first batch of things that they made for the streaming service was great with this, is docuseries and documentaries about Disney or about their movie making or stuff like that. Because I think the two best original honestly, the two best original series out of Disney Plus, I think we've still gotten for me. My most enjoyment out of it, other than like a scripted series, is way back to the beginning of Disney Plus, the Imagineering story, which I rewatched the first episode of a couple nights ago, which is fantastic. And then Light and Magic, the one from earlier or just last year, about ILM and the making of the Star Wars movies and all that stuff. I feel like they're so lacking on that. So I rewatched one episode of each of those. But then what I looked at after that, because I was looking for documentary collections, was the collections tab. And because it's UK Disney Plus, they had all these adult ones based on the Fox properties. So they had a Die Hard collection, Aliens collection, Predator collection. And then the one that I clicked on that said now streaming was, for the first time I think I've ever seen on a streaming service, they have all 12 theatrically released Planet of the Apes films. And I think I'm going to start making my way through them, which is actually not even the first time I've done that.
I want to do that
because back when a mutual friend of ours introduced me to Popcorn Time and what access to basically unlimited movies and TV shows was back then, I went through and I watched every single one of those movies, and some of them were really great, some of them were really bad, but it is like fantastic to watch them all through. So I think I'm going to do that again. And so I started with the first one. Very, very good, very cheesy, ham-bony, nonsense a lot of the times. But at its core, Charlton Heston, I think, is giving a fantastic performance. I think a lot of people are. And, it's a great classic story as well. And then the last thing, which is what I really want to talk about, is I went and saw Living, which is the brand new film, well, brand new to us in where we live, with Bill Nye that he got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor. And I will just say, I think everything that he's getting praise for in the performance is very warranted. I think he gives the best performance that I've ever seen him give, and I think that goes for a lot of people. But I think the movie itself kind of lacked cohesion in what it was trying to do. But at the end of the day, I think it did leave with like a good message about humanity and everything, and it was a tearjerker and all those kind of things. But to me, I think it's still just one of those things that it didn't quite come together for me. Other than the raw emotion I felt from Bill Nye's performance, so I gave that, like, I would say a 3.5 out of 5. But I would definitely still go out and check it out. If you want to see that, if you want to see it for his performance alone. Although I'm sure by the time the Oscars roll around, it'll probably be on streaming anyways, so you can maybe check it out then. But yeah, and then the only other thing I've been doing was which can lead us into our first just tiny story at the top here that I know we both care about, is I've been playing some Fallen Order, trying to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
And then today, right before we went live here, just a couple hours ago, they announced that Star Wars Jedi Survivor is going to be delayed 6 weeks. So this is pushing it back from coming out in the beginning of March to now it's not going to be coming out until April 28th. What do you think? Devastating news for me.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. Granted, I don't remember. I guess Fallen Order was buggy when it launched, which I don't really remember that well. But and I'm pretty surprised that they pushed it now, just because it's so. What was it original? It was February, wasn't it? Or was it March? I thought it was February, but I could be wrong.
For which movie?
For the game.
Oh, which one?
The Star Wars game that we were literally just talking about.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I literally my brain just broke. My friend just texted me about Hogwarts Legacy, and I looked down, and then I heard you say February or March, and I was like, because Hogwarts Legacy, I was like, wait, that one's February. Yeah, so it was supposed to be March 17th for Survivor, because it comes out the exact same day as the book about Cal.
Like I kept getting that and Hogwarts Legacy mixed up.
Me too, yeah.
But so I am glad that they pushed it, just because if it's not ready to be released, and you want it to release as clean as possible, so that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm still excited for the game, but it just gives me more time, because I still have to. I bought God of War when it came out, and I've barely played it. I've probably played like the first hour or two, and I definitely want to play it finish it before I get to Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat with you, that right now I'm really not playing through a lot other than Fallen Order, but I will be getting Hogwarts Legacy at launch, hopefully, assuming there's no issues. So for me, I'm like a little torn on it, because I feel like not only will this kind of pad things out, because when this game was supposed to come out, we were going to get the game, the book, an episode of Bad Batch, and an episode of Mandalorian on the same day, which is like kind of insane. That it was all falling, overlapping like that. So I'm glad that it kind of pushes things out a little bit, just for schedule's sake, and I'm glad because I will be getting Hogwarts Legacy. I'll be able to focus on that game and get kind of a lot of my money's worth until Survivor comes and takes over my entire PS5. But yeah, I'm still very excited, and like you said, if it means that it'll be less stressful and they're able to, finish the game, work out all the bugs. And the important thing is, in the original statement that they put out, they said that all content is completely finished for the game. that it's all just bug fixes and finishing
Yeah.
touches and doing all that. So like you said, the kind of slow start and buggy start of the first game, I'm sure they're trying to avoid that happening again. So I think it makes a lot of sense, but still disappointing nonetheless to me, I would say. Let's see here. Danielle said, I hate James Spader with a burning passion. Is that James Spader the actor or Robert California on the show? Do you know?
I think it's kind of James Spader, but I think the Robert California thing like really contributes to it.
You don't
I
like?
think she's a fan of his voice.
So you don't like Age of Ultron? There are no strings. Man, what would you think about just throwing everything else aside for a second? What do you think about these rumors that in whether it be Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, that Kang is going to use variants of apparently Loki, Thanos, and Ultron as like his minions? There's all this theories and everything and fan art going around of like Kang, like, because like how badass would that be, is having the 3 previous Avengers villains as your minions? Like, would you like to see something like that, or would you want it to be James Spader again, or would you settle for Paul Bettany?
Oh no!
Oh, what about Infinity? What about Infinity Ultron in live action though?
That could work.
That's great.
But I would want James Spader again. I like
dude.
His voice.
I agree with you. I would definitely want James Spader again. As much as I understood the story of that What If episode, it would have made it makes more sense to be just Paul Bettany than James Spader, because it's based on the original vision. So I get that. But if Ultron were to come back full-fledged in a movie, in a meaningful way, obviously I know he was technically just in Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, but it was for like all of 5 seconds. But if he were to come back, I agree. I would want it to be James Spader for sure. But let's see. Then she said that she's been, then Michelle said she's been rewatching House of the Dragon, Ted Lasso, The Godfather trilogy, and then new to her is Abbott Elementary, and it is worth the hype. There you go. There you go, right there. I didn't even see that before we got a review right in the chat. Also saw the Casey Anthony documentary, and I know it'll be controversial, but I completely changed my mind. Whoa. That's the power of free speech and documentary and being able to hire good narrative writers. That was my takeaway of that documentary. But let us move on here to... You want to just dive into Last of Us right now?
Yep. We can get through that, and then we can go to DC.
Beautiful. All right. So, before we get into what seemed to be the biggest news rush of the week with all the DC stuff, we are going to go back a few days to Sunday night when HBO, like it likes to do on its Sunday night programming, just dropped a beautiful, beautiful episode, which was Last of Us Episode 3. TJ, I put my mini review out on the channel, so I'll let you take the floor here. What did you think? And more importantly, because I'll remember, I threw it to myself in my mini review. How specifically does it compare, as you're somebody who understands what Bill's role was in the games and everything, which I had to learn that after the fact.
I'm telling you right now, I'm on the playing field as you right now.
Okay.
We are past my knowledge of anything I remember. Danielle is currently playing the game right now. She's never played it, so we're not to Bill yet.
Okay.
As I was watching the episode, I was like, I don't know if that. I was like, I don't know if that happens. I know they've deviated, because I've seen people on Twitter say, "Oh, that's not, that's different."
Yeah.
But no, as far as the episode goes, I thought, man, that was outstanding television. And I've seen some people say, best episode of television, possibly one of the top episodes ever in television or something like that. And I can't really disagree with that. I thought it was a wonderful, beautiful story that, I'd say ended in sadness, but all at the same time, it ended in a way that both characters wanted it to end
Yeah.
that way. Where I was thinking it was going to go out, in some tragic fashion, and it did not, which was really nice to see. And even as it, I wouldn't say it's really progressing the whole kind of story forward. I guess you could call it a filler episode. I guess I probably wouldn't, just because it really is. It really impacts, I'd say, Joel. Obviously more than Ellie, because Ellie didn't know who either of those characters were. But so I wouldn't call it a filler episode. But man, those two performances, Nick Offerman and I don't know the other actor's name.
Murray Bartlett.
White Lotus. They were dynamite in this episode. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Nick Offerman just I feel like he just kind of shows up and then just does a really good job in anything he kind of I would always think of him. Again, I never watched Parks and Rec, but I just know him as Ron Swanson as this goofy kind of character. But then he'll just kind of show which
when she read that, there's no
note.
way that they wrote that and weren't thinking of Ron Swanson. There is no way. That's hilarious.
But when he just kind of shows up in these different projects and he just really puts it all out there and has a great performance. I think is really cool. And awesome episode. I can't wait till next week. And I'm sorry I can't shed any light on the differences between the game and the show, because I just can't remember what happens.
No, that's good.
Obviously I know those characters are in the game, but I can't remember what they're doing.
Yeah, I was like I said, I was totally shocked. I just didn't know. I was just and I'll say this too, the trailers kind of fooled me. Not trailers, but the 30-second next week on from last week was kind of throwing me, because I saw Nick Offerman with long brown hair talking to Joel, being like, hey, we gotta, you gotta be careful out there. But it tricked me, because that wasn't modern day. That was 15 years ago. So when I was watching it back, and I was like, wait, Joel's leaving, but it's only 2013. Where's the other 10 years? I thought that was really interesting, the kind of flashing forward through time. And then of course, once we caught up to the current time, getting the kind of mirrored shots from earlier in the episode, kind of, that they do that clever kind of thing where they're going to be in the same positions they were, when they first met versus now. And I think all that was done very, very well. And I just think the emotion of the two performances, as good as as many cylinders as everything else was firing on, it almost didn't even matter because of those two performances at the helm. I think make or break this episode, and it's easily one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen. Like you said, I wouldn't fault somebody for saying it's one of the best of all time. But yeah, I just think this episode was fantastic. And a thing I really liked about it was that it kept the balance of, even though we have this amazing departure into this mini movie of an hour with these two characters, we still had 12 minutes with Joel and Ellie at the beginning, and then 12 minutes with them at the end. And Joel pops up in the middle. So kept it, even though we have this divergent storyline, you kept the narrative throughout it as well. And then everything that happens, because we are in spoilers, with the letter at the end saying, Frank was my purpose. That's what we're here to do. Use all this stuff to keep Tess safe. Yes, he's hurting because he knows Tess isn't safe. She's gone, all that stuff. But it's also the kind of like narrative thrust and emotional, punch that Joel kind of needed to realize you now have to do this to take care of Ellie. You might not know it yet and how much she's going to mean to you, or how much this journey you guys are going to go on is going to impact you both or whatever, but that's now your quest, in a sense. And then right after that is when you see him be like, hey, we're going all the way to, I think it was Wyoming, to go see Tommy. Yeah. Which I thought that was great, to use their story not only to be a great story to watch, but then to use the life lessons that we just watched them learn to instantly try and transfer all that to Joel. I thought was a great use of just storytelling, writing, everything. But yeah,
one thing I'll say about this episode,
yeah,
and just like kind of going back to like gameplay and stuff like that of the video game. Mm-hmm. I really liked how when they stop in that convenience store, kind of where Joel hid, I think he hid like ammo or something like underneath the floorboard or whatever. I really like that aspect of them kind of going around searching for supplies and everything, because that's a big part of the game. You're looking for stuff to make a new shiv, or like more ammo, or stuff to heal. And when Ellie kind of goes on her little tiny side quest in there, meanwhile Joel's looking for ammo and stuff, I really thought that was cool. Just having her finding I think there were tampons or something, and taking those, putting in her bag. I thought that whole thing was really cool. Just, I don't know, nice to show it. And that scene too with Ellie down like underneath the floor with that zombie, that was really creepy.
Mm-hmm. that freaked me out. And then the way that she like kind of like played with it, it was very very weird. But yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. But you're absolutely right. It almost was like it's like you're left or right, like find supplies with Ellie, look for stash with Joel. Like I don't know if that's how the game works, but like that it did very much feel like that you're scavenging through it. I didn't even think about that. It's like a pit stop, or like a save point basically. But yeah, I really really like this episode. I think for sure now we can easily say this might be, I think it's safe to say that this might be on its way to be the best video game adaptation that we've gotten so far. Close. Just to hedge my bet there, if all the wheels fall off the cart by the end of it, but I don't see that happening in the slightest. And then apparently too, in the upcoming next week, there's a whole bunch of references and direct things from the game again. So I think it's also an interesting example of a show allowing itself to kind of diverge, to go not only from the source material but from the main story, and the fact that it found a way to do that and people were happy with it, and not saying, sure there's some annoying people on the internet that'll be like, where's Joel, it's his show. But like the fact that most of the fan base is like, wow, even though we weren't with Joel and Ellie for most of this episode, this was fantastic. Like, this was incredible. I think says a lot for it. But yeah.
I'm very interested to see, because it was announced a few days ago that it was renewed for season 2. I will be I'm interested to see how far they get through season 1, like with the first game, and then like obviously in season 2, like what is that? Are we gonna do like, could it possibly just be like season 1, game 1, season 2, game 2, done?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that'd be,
that would be a pretty like, what's the word I want to say? Like ballsy to be like, and I don't even know if that's the right word. It would almost be like a waste. That's the right thing, because it's like, dude, you could have drug it out a little bit longer. You know what I mean? You could have dragged that out.
I mean, even with this episode, they've added a lot more information than what you got in the game. And that's something I think Neil Druckmann talked about, is like, this gives you an opportunity to expand on things that you wouldn't be able to in the video game. So maybe, maybe it is like, maybe game 1 will be, season 1 and season 2, just because of their ability to expand on all these other characters.
Take their time in kind of a different way, rather than the gameplay take even more time to tell the story. Yeah, I think they absolutely are going to take advantage of that. I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely fantastic episode, as it has been the past 3 weeks. But guys, let us know, what did you think of episode 3 of The Last of Us? As I just dropped my phone, are you on the bandwagon of this is one of the best episodes of all time? Was it just okay for you? What do you think? Let us know down below, and while you're down there, go ahead and hit subscribe, like as well, and share this with somebody that you think might like The Last of Us or might like us talking about The Last of Us. So yeah, until then, we will catch you guys in the next video. All right, thank you for bearing with us with that exit there. TJ, it's time. I'm carving out a lot of time here. We got, let's see, what time is it? 8:53. We got over an hour, man. Or an hour here. Let's turn off The Last of Us. There we go. All right, so what I want to do is, to start with, I have not seen this James Gunn video yet. I know you said you have, or some of it online. So I want to just take, because you were tweeting out all the projects, and I was trying to keep up with all the tweets and everything like that. We were both at work, or both during the middle of our days, and it was all kind of breaking at once. I didn't even know there was a video until I got home at 5.
Yeah. It came a little
which is
later.
crazy.
Like, it didn't go right away. I think it was like
especially on Twitter. I think everyone was trying to get their tweets out, that the one James Gunn tweet probably went, bottom of the list like pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and fire this up right here. So basically, obviously, we know what the projects are going to be called, some information about them, but this is it coming straight from the man himself, from James Gunn. Now, TJ, I will ask you, as I'm getting this pulled up here, we have, as we know, our Lord and Savior, Kevin Feige. What should we call James Gunn?
I don't know, but how about let's put together a few movies first before we start giving him a name.
Giving him a title. For now, it is just James Gunn.
James Gunn.
There we go. And to be fair, I think the Lord and Savior Kevin Feige thing didn't start until after Age of Ultron. So you're right. He's got some ground to cover and some credit to prove. And I would say previous work, I'm not even going to count it, because he's got to be able to spin all these new plates that he got for himself. So I think going forward, we got to see how he is as a chairman, a CEO, a writer, and director. If he's really going to be serving, quadruple duty for everything at DC Studios. But let's go ahead and check out what I believe is being called Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters of DC Studios.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of
this is how
our jobs,
I originally thought the whole thing was going
to come in and make sure the DC
I
is connected
love how
film,
open and
television,
transparent he's being about everything.
That the characters are consistent.
Hey, it was disconnected
Played by the same actors.
And he's explaining.
Story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled
Teen
as
Titans
DC
Go.
Elseworlds,
I love it.
outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves
Zachary
directly
Levi,
into The Flash, a fantastic
what did I
movie
say?
that
Noted
I really
anti-vaxxer,
love,
right?
that resets the entire
From his
DC
tweet.
universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So, Peter and
I'm going to take a liberty and pause it for a second here. I'm going to go back to that Blue Beetle comment.
About a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which...
So, is about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU. Now, James Gunn and everything is being very concrete of there are 3 main factions. Left side of his head right here, DCEU, the new DCU, and then Elseworlds. He said a great young kid in the DCU. So does that mean that he has chosen, he said, okay, Zolo Madueña, you get to stay on as Blue Beetle. That is going to take place in our new universe? Is that
Which
what I'm
one's
getting from
his?
that?
The DCU?
His is the DCU.
Gotcha.
And
I think it would probably be... Yeah, I think it'd probably be his just because I feel like that movie... I don't know when that movie
might have a chance to just be full fresh start if it doesn't have too many strings attached.
Yeah, I don't think maybe the way they made the movie, it's not really connected to anything previously.
And what is your take on this? Did you see what... Because there's also some things, when I pick up my phone eventually, there's a bunch of tweets that from the actual interviews from the press day that was yesterday of their quotes. But did you see what Peter Safran said? Oh gosh, what were we just talking about again?
We were talking about DCU, DCEU, Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah, man! I was trying to think about Peter Safran's name for so long. I pushed the other thought out of my mind. I'm sure I'll remember it if it was important.
Leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So,
Here we go.
Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos
Look at
is
that.
an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something
I
we're
wonder
gonna do
if
that's a little bit
how
different.
does this guy write everything? How does he just write?
I wrote all this
he's
stuff
like, listen,
already,
I wrote a Superman movie, I wrote the Batman movie, I wrote Creature Commandos, the new animated series.
Do you now? Okay, so just starting off, this is the first thing. We'll talk about the stuff as the video goes on.
Absolutely.
But so do you have any background knowledge on these characters? Because I don't.
The only one that I have background well, actually, I'll say this: I don't know these designs well enough to know who basically any of these are besides one, which is I know that this is Weasel, like the same Weasel from Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know these designs, but maybe this is like Solomon Grundy, in like a different way. I know he was recently on Stargirl, but like this, I'm not sure. That almost looks like what's his face from Invincible. Doesn't that look like Zachary Quinto from Invincible?
Yeah, kind of.
The robot.
Oh my God, it's been so long I can't even remember his name.
I know.
Character's name.
Did you see the Jeffrey Dean Morgan thing?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Do you think he's gonna be the bigger, beefier guy from their planet, or do you think somebody said, "How do we know that this is for the animated show? What if he's reading this stuff for the live action movie that is supposed to happen?" Could you see him as Omni-Man?
Mm-hmm.
He would be crazy as Omni-Man. Oh my God, the train scene in live action. Dude, we're going to live if we can live like 10 to 15 years longer, we are going to see that train scene in live action. There's no way that when they do an Invincible movie, maybe it won't be until Invincible 2. I don't know. But there's no way we don't see that train scene in live action, and that is going to be a glorious day. But to answer your question, no, I'm not familiar with the Creature Commandos or who these specific ones are.
Having the same actor play their voice as who plays them.
Oh.
Out of anime.
Here we go.
It's an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a
crossing
little bit
over
different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation,
out
of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up...
That right there, whereas you can go, I'll skip Clone Wars, well, maybe not, this one. You can't skip it. It makes it essential viewing.
This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker.
Good for
And
Viola
this is
Davis.
a story that's been created by Chris
Peacemaker
Penman,
confirmation,
who did Watchmen,
survived.
and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world.
No
I
way
can't
they
wait
were
for
killing
people to see.
Peacemaker.
Okay, next
I mean,
up is
that
the
show
big
was
one. The
very
Dude,
successful.
that show came out in January, and it was like in the top 5 most in-demand shows of HBO Max of last year, and it came out like there was like 4 episodes in January, and just that alone made it one of the most in-demand shows.
Beginning
Like
of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released
Unlimited
in the
time.
theaters July 11th, 2025.
he lives in a pocket
the next
dimension.
thing
He
is
lives
a
in Peacemaker's little pocket dimension closet.
big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story.
Let's
of a couple
go.
of
This
Green
is my
Lanterns,
most
John
hyped,
Stewart, Hal
announcement.
Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there. But this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple.
By the way,
Now
by
that
the
piqued my interest when he said True Detective mixed with comic, that type of thing.
all right, let's. You know what? Let's get a quick. Oh my god. All right, let's get a quick video out of this. If not, the conversation for the content. So last week you gave me the challenge. You said to challenge me to start watching True Detective, and I will say I've watched episodes 1 through 3 of season 1. Only because I'm also trying to finish Hannibal and everything, but I have started True Detective on your orders, and it is fantastic. So I told you, I said whatever the announcement's going to be for a Green Lantern thing, whether it be a show or a movie, I would be excited for that. Mixed with me now watching True Detective, hearing this that it's going to be almost a precinct based Green Lantern Corps story. And I like that he did not say, this is a detective partner story, think buddy cop adventure. He said True Detective. Right. He could have said buddy cop. This is going to be darker, and I just love that DC's allowed to do that stuff, but absolutely piquing my interest. Easily for me, this is my most anticipated out of the announcements. All right.
Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover
That's so
a
cool.
terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary.
Now, I have no idea about any of these people at all.
Okay.
But what I have heard about them, just since this announcement was made, is that basically, although they might be more, they said they might be more like idealistic than the boys, or more optimistic than the boys. This is gonna be kind of the DC's element of having something like the boys. Which I think is very, very interesting. Now, whether that's accurate, I'm not sure. I've seen a lot of people online talking about that. That if Marvel's wackier side is the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think then DC's wackier side is like the boys. So I think that could make sense for it. To see kind of, R-rated, maybe this will be like, they'll be like the kind of like the Watchmen, like the raunchier superheroes. I think I could see that happening.
Very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost.
This one's interesting.
Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
Now that, come on, Game of Thrones in the DC universe?
Yeah. It seems very much with these announcements, like your comparison with what was that show called again? I'm sorry. The one before this one.
Oh, True Detective?
No, the one before
the
they
boys.
were just talking about. Yeah, like that kind of.
Oh, The Authority.
Show.
Yeah,
The Authority. Yeah, The Authority being compared to The Boys. This being compared to Game of Thrones. It seems like they're very much going in a direction that's more adultish, kind of. As opposed, like, Marvel isn't. Marvel's not like for, like, 5-year-olds, but it's not like the most adult thing in the world.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. I like that they're kind of taking this darker approach, which we've obviously seen with Joker and Batman already. But to see it kind of applied, with maybe Superman, don't know what that movie's going to be. And then these other shows and like Green Lantern with the whole True Detective vibe. That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think definitely he's going for a all right, this is not to say that he's trying to mimic or steal anyone else's success. I'm just saying he's going, okay, what are the things that work? What are the things that are successful with who we think DC fans could be, which is people who maybe are not railing against Marvel, but like you said, looking for that counter programming, that, darker edge to Marvel's lighter edge most of the time. So let's see, what's successful in that. The Boys, Invincible, stuff like that. So I think they're doing a very good job of, Game of Thrones, like saying, in your mind, connect this project to this project that you already love. And I think that without saying really anything gives people a little bit more to even hope for.
The DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line. And so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold
I never
is
heard
one
of
of
this
the
guy.
comics really popular.
Oh, really?
Heroes. He's a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future.
He looks like a guy
He
from The
uses
Incredibles.
Future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman
I love it.
is a guy who
I love
was
that.
sent to Earth and raised by loving parents. Whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about. A very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is.
How many episodes
Swamp
did that
Thing.
show last?
And
like 2?
although it's totally outside of the rest of the
Yeah,
DCU,
I think so.
it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories.
I love how
want to
just
you guys
direct he
and
is.
really
It's
give you
like
something
fantastic.
different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. I'm James
See,
Gunn.
Ooh, okay. I think, and when I say the like, oh, he's being so direct, like it's so open and honest and refreshing and stuff. I'm not even talking about like Kevin Feige with that. I'm talking more like some of the other executives that we've seen make some of these presentations that just don't really come across as either I don't sense their own confidence in what they're saying. And with everything that James Gunn said, he's looking right in the camera, right at me. And like, I believe him. And I love that because like you said, it's been so fractured. Nobody was, at the wheel steering anything. It was just like kind of smashing plates at the wall and hoping one wasn't going to break, basically. Like, and so I think that's, really good and gives me a lot of confidence that, unlike however many other DC, projects we've been promised or announced before, that all of this is actually going to happen. I think it's pretty exciting. And that he said, this isn't even all of Chapter 1. This isn't even all they have to offer. Not to mention, over the coming years and really months and then years, how many announcements of casting, writers, directors that are going to get attached to all these projects, and everything like that. But like, how did you feel about this entire kind of presentation? And I like there are no graphics at all, or sorry, there were graphics, but like edited in graphics. It's not like
just like shots of like
monitor.
panel, either like the covers of comics or panels from comics.
Yeah.
No, I thought this was a great kind of buddy piece to all the information released like 10 minutes before the video, I think it was. But yeah, I thought he's very blunt and very just laid out a really good beginning plan. Obviously, we don't know where any stories or anything are going currently, but I think there's a few movies in there. We got a few TV shows, and then I do like the whole. And Marvel's already started to kind of do this, which I think is cool, and the kind of like side stories where I don't think Marvel really has like a kind of section for it. They call it like a special presentation type thing, but it's not like he calls it, they call it Elseworld, which I think is cool. And I think that's a really cool thing. Maybe, you have somebody that wants to tell the director that wants to tell the story, or a writer or anybody, and maybe it doesn't align exactly with James Gunn wants to do it, but it's like, oh, we could do this one-off movie, just we'll just put it in this other kind of section. It doesn't have to all tie into the same thing. And we'll see how this whole kind of how actors feel about being tied down to be, we're going to do this movie, and then we're going to do the show, and you're going to voice the character in the animated show, and you're going to voice the character in the video game, because
it's a big commitment.
Connect it all. It is a very big commitment. So we'll see how that goes. I'm very interested to see, and this is years down the line, but how do we incorporate the video game aspect to it? I'm very intrigued to see how that works, and maybe what studio they go to as well.
Yeah, is it going to be something that when we get to the video games, is it all going to be like the same video game? You know what I mean? Like, or are we going to have like a multiplayer co-op game, then a third-person, narrative game, then a first-person shooter, like stuff like that? Or is it going to be like, trying to think of like the best example, like Injustice, right? Is it all going to be like Injustice narrative driven type games, those kind of things? I think it'll be very interesting. But TJ, just going through here, because we do have some time here, but it looks like it is going to be a shorter show today. What kind of pops out to you first? What project do you want to take a little bit of a deeper look at here, from James Gunn?
I want to talk about what's the gold guy's name again?
Booster Gold.
Yeah, Booster Gold.
He's somebody I do have a little bit of background on. So
okay, can you talk to me a little bit about him, because I know this guy.
Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about that too. Batman movie.
Yeah, that too.
Bat
Yeah.
family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. So just kind of breaking that down. So basically just the background on it is essentially what he said. He is a nobody from the future, the far enough future that just everyday tech from the future is like God level superhero abilities in our present. And that's basically what his superheroing is.
It's just to get the fame and attention that he can't get in his own time.
Gotcha.
But breaking down kind of what he said about it, I think it's interesting that he said it's like an HBO Max series about imposter syndrome on like a superhero scale. I think that'll be really interesting, that even in some of these lighter hearted series or characters, we might get, the more introspective stuff, kind of like Peacemaker. Honestly, Peacemaker's a funnier, laugh out loud, big action guy, but really what are the best parts of that show is getting into all the emotion and rawness that like he has inside of himself. So I think that would be interesting if they go into, yes, it's funny he came to the past to be appreciated and everything, but why does he need to be appreciated so bad? If it gets into that stuff, that is awesome. But yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool. And other than, I think, one appearance in Legends of Tomorrow and a probably appeared in Smallville as well, I don't think they've ever done anything live action with him.
One of my favorite
so I'm excited to see, kind of how they do that. The next one I want to get your thoughts on here. This Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Okay. Who do we think this Batman is going to be? Like, do we think it's going to be somebody totally new, or
yes?
I think that it could be somebody totally new, 100%. I think it could 100% be that. But what I'm in the back of my mind hoping for is this could be the way that clearly the reinterested Ben Affleck could take another stab at it. You don't think so at all? He's going to be the perfect age to be Dad Batman.
You're restarting this whole thing. Why would you want to go back?
But then isn't that the same thing with keeping? Isn't that the same thing though with keeping Zachary Levi and keeping maybe keeping Ezra Miller? Isn't that the same?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about that. We can. That boggles my mind that they're like, oh well, they're going through treatment and stuff like that, and they could possibly make I think that's crazy. But no, I think if you want to have Ben Affleck involved, maybe he wants to direct something. I believe it's been reported within this universe. So maybe you just have him direct this because he was supposed to direct his solo movie in the DCEU. But I don't think you put him as Batman. I think you get a whole new person.
Oh, just a whole new. So who do you think you would like to see in a role like that? Given the wide variety of wide-jawed.
Well, they'd have to be older, right? Consider a child.
Yeah, I would say you could get away with like 35 to like 55.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like who was up for the role before Robert
I would
Pattinson
definitely go Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie. I think Hugh Laurie might be a little aged out.
Could you imagine?
Like my mind immediately went to because he had auditioned for it already was
Sandler?
Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, you bring in a bunch of new people.
It could be interesting. How old is Nicholas Hoult?
I don't know. He's probably in his maybe like early 30s.
All right, what's your final guess?
I'm gonna say he's.
I'll give you a hint. I haven't looked it up yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I'm gonna guess that it is not 30.
Okay.
Whoa.
Wait. Oh, okay.
No. You're good. You're good. What's your final guess?
29.
No. I thought that it was. I thought you were like dreaming. I was like, dude, he was in those X-Men movies so long ago. I thought he was like 40.
Oh no.
He's 33. He just turned 33.
Yeah.
I thought he was way older than that. So you were spot on to begin with. Yeah.
That's kind of, that's in there, I'd say.
I think it's definitely old enough to have a teenage son. It's younger than I thought, but also, frankly, by the time the movie gets made, he is going to be 35, 36.
Was this one of
You
those
can
ones
age
they
him
put a
up.
release date on or no?
No, it was not.
Okay, yeah.
But Peter Safran, again, I have one of these comments up here of these excerpts from the interviews that you can find all over Twitter. Peter Safran, somebody had asked him, what do you think the release structure is going to look like? You know, we've seen, obviously, some universes, you know, one movie every 6 years with Star Wars. Marvel, you know, there's 5 TV shows and, 4 movies every single year, 9 projects, boom, boom, boom. Peter Safran said probably 4. So he said probably 2 movies a year, 2 shows a year sounds about right. So not hard and fast, that's exactly what we're going to do. But how do you feel about that? Maybe 1 project per quarter, and it's going to be, you know, a movie, a show, a movie, and a show. And that's what a year of DC will look like. How do you feel about that? Would you like to see more projects, or should they slow off? Fine.
Just thinking of the amount of stuff that we have to watch already right now, for me personally, that's fine. 1. And I think maybe with Marvel we've seen a little bit, I don't want to say fatigue.
Slippage?
But maybe just the sheer mass of everything has maybe dulled the quality.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I agree.
And maybe with less things, we keep that quality higher.
And I think that's why it's true, too, because you know what 4 projects a year means? It means that theoretically, give or take, James Gunn could spend a month straight on set for each project that they do. You know, because that then leaves him, you know, the majority of the year to be everywhere else that he needs to be. But what that means is that with them spaced out like that, for a year, it means that he can conceivably be on set a lot for each of these things. Unlike, like you said, it's just an impossibility. And I'm sure he still is with Zoom and everything. I'm sure he touches base with all of his productions all day, every day. But, you know, Kevin Feige just physically cannot be on set every day looking at every project every single, you know, time there's stuff filming. Because at times they have 2, 3, 4 projects filming at once. So I think that this, in a sense, is kind of a slow start given this landscape. I don't think that you can successfully be like, hey, we're launching a cinematic universe. Here's 1 project every 2 years. Like the MCU did that, you know, at first, or not even really. The first year out, they did 2 movies. But then they took a year off. Then they did 1 movie. Then they did another movie. Then they took a year off. Then they did Avengers. You can't kind of have that slow start. I feel like people won't buy into your universe. Like, think Dark Universe, right? They did 1 movie. Mm-hmm. Well, they really did 1 movie with Dracula Untold, set up a Dark Universe, and then, like, let 4 years go by, and then they were like, oh, no, we're ready. We're going to do it now. We're going to do it now. And then they released The Mummy, and it's terrible. And it's like, that's what a slow start can kind of get you these days. So I'm glad that they're kind of just going with this even pace. But I think Nicholas Holt's a good guess. I hadn't really thought about him. But I think that's a good guess.
I mean, they literally just came to mind just because he auditioned for it already. Yeah. How old is? I don't even know if this would be. How old is if he can get his voice back, Austin Butler?
Oh, as Batman, I think he's 26.
Oh, geez. Okay, so he'd have to, it'd be a minute.
What about Zac Efron?
I was thinking that maybe he's already Human Torch. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to think. Anybody like under the radar currently that you could be like?
Chet Hanks.
Chet Hanks.
What about Dev Patel?
Dev Patel's an option. Yep.
So look at this. IMDb's got your back. 75 actors aged 30 to 50. Let's see. Batman. Johnny Depp. Number 1. Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Russell Crowe. Brad Pitt.
Nope.
That
was really on there?
What about Ed Norton?
No.
Maybe he'd take the plunge. He said, "I gotta have the script, man." Okay, here could be a real one.
Is Johnny Depp really on there?
Yeah. Here could be a real one.
Johnny Depp is like excommunicated
Whoa.
currently.
Jonathan.
They said we didn't want to work with him on Fantastic Beasts. With them on Batman.
Yeah. What about really though? What about Javier Bardem? He's got the look for it. I'll tell you, he's got the look.
How tall is he?
Oh, does IMDb
He's
have
got to be
that?
like at least
They got
6,
it, right?
6 foot.
Oh, he's 5'11" and 3/4. It says.
No, not close enough.
That's really specific. I think so far on this list, Javier Bardem's our best option. Oh, what about it? What if he just takes the absolute plunge into the safe arms of Warner Brothers? And what if Matt Damon is finally ready for more than a Thor cameo? I think he could have it in him. I mean, I don't know. I
don't think so.
Will Smith.
I don't think so.
Okay, next to real, in my eyes, really definite prospects. Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's absolutely got the look. There's no question about it. He's auditioned for it before. Already in a Batman universe, but what about Colin Farrell?
I was thinking that, but I just thought it probably wasn't a thing just because he's already in the Batman.
I feel like it's one of those things that could possibly still happen. Because, again, wait, I have a comment for that. Quote, we have seen various reports and rumors of actors playing multiple roles in the DC universe. What is your comment on this, James Gunn? I can confirm to you that in the singular DCU, we will not have actors playing more than one role. What that says to me means, no, Jason Momoa is still Aquaman, but in Elseworlds, he is also going to be Lobo. That's what that says to me. So I think on that note, since the Batman is also in Elseworlds, I think that Colin Farrell could be Penguin over there in Elseworlds, but Batman in the DCU. I think he could be. I really do. I think that's a good option. Let's see here. Ethan Hawke. Batman is Ethan Hawke? Listen, Joker.
Ethan Hawke.
No good?
I guess that's fitting that age range that we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, what about Jerry B. Gerard Butler as Batman?
I don't think so.
Tom Cruise. We're going to get you out of here.
Tom Cruise.
Let's see. Oh, this is the one. Marky Mark.
No.
Hey, Damien, what are you doing?
All right. I think we've tried to guess enough.
John Leguizamo.
I think maybe for Damien, you got who are those big kid actors? Jacob Tremblay. How old is he?
You sound like an 80-year-old man. You're like, who are those big who's those kids actors on the TV?
Jacob Tremblay.
I saw Aidan
else?
Gallagher, who plays number 5 in Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
He's basically plays Damian Wayne in that show.
Ben?
Oh, Michelle in the chat here. Nikolai Coster-Waldau for Batman. Now that is some inspired casting right there. That, whew, if you watch this channel long enough, you'll know I used to die on the hill of I wanted him to play Joel in the Last of Us show. This was way before Pedro Pascal was obviously cast. So let's get him some love. Let's give him a Batman role. I think he would be fantastic, and he I think would have the world record of the widest jaw Batman. You would have to do an open jaw mask.
Yeah,
there would be no way to contain that thing.
Finn for Damien.
I think once Stranger Things is wrapped and stuff, if he wanted to move over to that, I think that's a good fit. Can he bulk up? Not that he.
I was gonna say he needs to bulk up,
but he is like skin and bones.
Yeah.
What do you think about Timothy Chalamet.
That could be interesting. I don't know how big of a. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, what?
Although, how old is
Yeah.
he? I mean, I guess.
I think he's
you
like
know,
48 or like something.
Yeah,
No, I think he's
like
like 27. Yeah,
I would say, how old is Damien? Probably like teens.
probably like
right?
supposed to be like 15. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe not.
Yeah, I think Aiden Gallagher is a good call. I think, and that was not me. I saw that on Twitter, and I was like, that's pretty good. Especially if you've seen Umbrella Academy, you know he's got the moves for it for sure. Let's see here. Where is Superman?
Superman Legacy.
What do we think is going on? Superman, finally an actual Superman movie on the release schedule after 13 years, which is ridiculous.
Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next.
So who's your dream new Superman?
That's tough,
Not
man.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I don't really have one. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's so many people that could play Batman. Superman, I feel like there's not really a lot of people. And we got to remember they're saying a younger Superman. I don't really know. Is there anyone that comes to your mind?
Well,
Like 7 actors who could play the next Man of Steel. Austin Butler.
Oh, he's already
Hey,
Batman. So
Lois.
No, actually, that could work. I was gonna say if he's too
Yeah.
young for Batman, maybe that could work.
Mm-hmm. Lois, you gotta understand. Jacob Elordi. I've
Clark,
seen
why
this
do you
one a
sound
lot.
like Elvis.
Don't worry about it, Lois. I'll tell you
Jacob
about
who?
what happened with the Colonel. Jacob Elordi
Jacob Elordi, yeah.
from Euphoria.
Yeah, I feel like he should probably be making that jump soon too.
Yeah, into other stuff that's not just like
Yeah.
a psychopath.
That could be, yeah, okay. That's an option. I don't dislike that.
I think it'd be interesting. Wolfgang Novogratz.
That guy kind of looks like it. Like that guy's pretty jacked in that picture right there.
Yeah,
He could be him.
very interesting. Oh, this guy looks like Draco Malfoy or something. David Cornsweet. I don't know who that is. Eli Gorey. Interesting. I would say yes, but did you see also they said that apparently that Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Superman movie is still happening, that it is going to be separate.
Apparently,
so
yes.
I'm thinking.
So wait, what doesn't that have to do with Michael B? What was the Michael B?
Yeah,
Jordan
that's the
thing?
one. That's the same one that Michael B. Jordan is apparently producing and might star in.
Producing.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is the same one. So only for that reason, I would say I think for this movie they're gonna go with probably the traditional Superman look, because I think that they are opening the door for an actual character of color who is black to have a Superman movie of their own. But I think if it's not going to be Michael B. Jordan, I mean, this guy definitely looks like he could fill the suit out.
Yeah.
And he's got kind of the haircut for it too. Oh my God. Whoa. I saw him, this from White Lotus. Yeah, he's got like kind of a Clark Kent look to him. Kind of a Grant Gustin-y vibe. Adam DeMarco. Oh! He could look like young Superman from Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm.
David Alvarez. He looks like him. He
Yeah.
looks like him for sure. Oh, it looks like that's it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different people that it could be, but again, I think for me, if we're going with the existing pool of known actors at this time, I think it's a lot harder to find your Superman right now than it is to find somebody suitable to play a dad-aged Batman. Oh, Michelle in the chat says Adam Driver Superman. That's if he wasn't already Reed Richards. Uh, we'll see about that.
Does he want to jump into another franchise?
Yeah, exactly. Like so soon. Like he seems like somebody that like he's like, yeah, how much does it pay? Okay.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
Oscar Isaac. Oh,
yeah,
I need
exactly.
a new house.
Yeah, they're both fantastic actors that are in such amazing Oscar drama work, and then they're just like, what is it? How many houses? Yeah. I got 6 movies. Yep. All right. Like, like the Moon Knight's gonna be 1 season only because Oscar Isaac only signed 1 season contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cardo Hoyos. Daniel
From Degrassi. Let's see.
Let's see what that guy looks like.
Oh, he's got a Superman look for sure. It's kind of.
I could see that.
I could see that. He does definitely have a Superman-y look about him.
Throw some glasses on there. I think you're all set.
Yeah, I could see that. There you go, Clark Kent right here. Boom. Yeah, I think that's good. That is good casting. I had no idea who that person was. All right, what else? Or what do you think about this Supergirl movie that we're gonna get this like battle-hardened, maybe R-rated Supergirl?
So there was supposed to be Supergirl in Shazam, or is it Flash?
Flash, which she is still in.
But, obviously, yeah. So obviously we're assuming we're gonna recast that. I don't know anything about this story either. I know very little.
Yeah, I don't know
show
anything
on
about this one.
that was done. But you think Supergirl will probably be same age around? I'd have to imagine.
Yes, because well, technically, like Supergirl aged. Well, traditionally, Supergirl is like older but younger. So Supergirl left Krypton, but was in when she was like 14. So she was like 14 when Krypton exploded, but it took her way longer to get to Earth. So Clark was a baby when she went into her pod, but by the time she got out of her pod, Clark is like 35. So she's technically older, but Superman is lived longer than her on Earth. That's what the typical story is. That's what like the same story is with Supergirl and Superman on the CW, and in most of the traditional storytelling. But this sounds like it's a take that I am not familiar with, that is kind of in a completely whole new direction, that I think could be really interesting. But yeah, who would you put in here, and would it be Zoe Deutsch?
No.
That was a very quick no.
Not Zoe Deutsch. Sorry.
Anne Hathaway.
You know who's picking up steam like acting wise is Madison Klein.
Madison Klein.
She's in Knives Out. She's in. Is she the one in that Netflix show there? Outer Banks.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So maybe now you make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's
what about Sydney Sweeney?
I was thinking that, but she's in Marvel. I guess it's Sony though.
Yeah. So like, who really knows? Like,
big of a commitment.
Yeah. I think if she's not committed and they're going for this look right here, I mean, I think that's would definitely fit Sydney Sweeney, especially if they are going like that, like a younger, her. But I think it just depends. All right. The last thing I just want to talk to you about here is everything that is not in this presentation.
Yes.
So what do we think? Also, by the way, we kind of skipped over it, but the Batman sequel is going to be called The Batman Part 2. That's going to be coming out October 3rd, 2025. And then Joker is also, those both are going to be in the Elseworlds stories and everything like that. No release date for Joker yet though, but I think maybe it already had one. I just think it wasn't no update with it essentially. So he didn't touch on it. But everything that's not here. So he talked about the Amanda Waller show. and that Peacemaker characters will hop over here, but he didn't speak directly on Peacemaker at all. He didn't speak directly on to the Suicide Squad. What do you think the status is with some of these people, some of these floaters that are still out there, like Idris Elba or Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn? Yeah, like, what do you think's going on with people like that? Or obviously John Cena as Peacemaker.
I think that's, maybe a little bit more far out, except for obviously Peacemaker, just because, he mentioned that kind of cast of characters appearing in this show. But as far as, like, personally, like, I'd keep Margot Robbie and Idris Elba. Great in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
And I think, everybody loves Margot Robbie as Harley. So, if you can keep her going forward, I would totally do that. Again, that kind of goes against my thing where, why would you keep Ben Affleck? You're trying to, redo the thing. He kept Harley Quinn for his Suicide Squad, so maybe just keep it going. I don't know, because I just think that's like, I think, at that point, you're probably thinking, 6-7 years from now or something like that, like way down the line. Just because, like, like the next, for example, like which one of those movies is like 2025?
Superman and Batman.
Yeah, like
we're gonna be getting a Superman and Batman movie within 3 months of each other.
Yeah, that's already crazy. 2 years away. Who knows how far any of these shows are? So I would expect it like years from now. And I don't even think that's probably like, in their mind yet.
Yeah, and I think also announcing these this far ahead and only really announcing 2 of them with release dates, I think was a great move too, because it leaves you open and not necessarily saying that these announcements are being revealed in chronological order. So we could very well see this Waller series, maybe it's ready to go January 2024. Like some of this stuff could be thrown in production a lot quicker than others. Like this Waller show, you could get that firing up ASAP, and then make way for Peacemaker season 2 all before you start rolling on any movies. Some things are just easier to start on than others. But I think that'll be interesting either way. What are some other like DC properties? No Black Adam. No mention of Black Adam.
Oh darn!
What do you think's going on with that, huh?
I don't know. I think you could probably put it in a Elseworld type thing. Although, is it technically DCEU?
I think it is technically, DCEU.
Okay. So maybe, because I don't think there's talk that apparently it looks like that Aquaman's going to be a trilogy, probably end up being a trilogy. And then, I don't think we know anything about Wonder Woman 3. And obviously the Flash is done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe Black Adam just becomes an Elseworld thing. It's hard to do just because, like, it didn't make money. Like, it didn't make that much money. So it's like, clearly there's not that big of a demand for this character.
Could you see him showing up in something else? Like, could you see him showing up? Maybe you get Black Adam back in Swamp Thing. Maybe Swamp Thing comes to Kahndaq.
I don't think so. I don't think if you see Black Adam, I don't think it's for like however many,
And you don't think it's
years.
The Rock.
And I don't think it's The Rock.
Damn.
Yeah. It didn't make money. Like
I know it lost money. Although wait. Hang on. All right, I can confirm right now on PFNLive that Black Adam actually is set to make a profit. It is set to make a profit.
Yeah.
So we're good actually. So I'm sure they're gonna probably. What do they just update this video, or they just edit in the Black Adam too?
Yeah, right.
No.
I need to get your opinion on this Flash thing. Just real quick. Where's the quote? I mean, it wasn't necessarily a quote. Reading this off Discussing Film. Peter Safran says Ezra Miller is committed to their recovery and will discuss their future as the Flash at a later date. Quote, when they feel like they're ready to have the discussion, we'll all figure out what the best path forward is. So, what are you thinking about that?
I think it's hard because we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. But I think also, if you just want to really go full bore into this real quick, I think also his remarks on Zachary Levi, I think, are very measured and understandable as what happened to James Gunn in the past. You know, he doesn't want to rush to judgment over, you know, what actually happened. Zachary Levi tweeted out that stupid thing. That is what actually happened. We saw that happen. What has not happened is everybody else that jumped on it. And I'm one of those people. I saw the Joe Rogan clip and everything of, well, he's a Jordan Peterson guy, which means he's a Christian guy, which means he thinks this, which means, oh my God. All might be true, but, you know, we have to go off of the facts that are presented. And like James Gunn said, he said, not every actor, not every creative is going to say everything that I agree with or not all of them are never going to say things that I don't agree with, but I can't go changing everything off of, you know, everything that somebody says. Now, that being said, if it is, like he said, morally reprehensible, you know, terrible, actual bad, like things, then that's going to be another issue. So for me right now, I think it's one of those things that I can't be like, okay, I like what he said about Zachary Levi with that whole thing, but then also be like, that can't apply to Ezra Miller. If they really are like trying to better themselves, maybe they just had something really bad going on, which we know there was a ton of bad stuff going on. So, you know, I feel like for me right now, it's maybe benefit of the doubt. It's been, you know, almost 6 months and we haven't heard anything since the last thing of you know, working on their recovery. So maybe I don't know. And I didn't think that I would ever say something like that, but it's kind of refreshing that it just seems like I said, that James Gunn is just trying to move forward with this openness and honesty and directness. And if somebody does something that they need to be fired for, they're going to be fired for it. If somebody does something that maybe not everybody agrees with, then, you know, they're not just going to be fired without question. So I feel like we just kind of, for me at least, I feel like we got to wait and see if maybe Ezra Miller really is trying to turn everything around.
I think that is true and fair, but I think those two situations are completely different. In Zachary Levi is just kind of saying something, whereas Ezra charged with, like, you know, things 100%. That they did, or allegedly, I don't know, you know. Not getting into all that, but all that stuff that was circulating around for those, you know, few months. Still no explanation on the whole video. Don't know if that's ever gonna happen. No explanation on that. But I think what he said is correct. And again, like you said, like going back to that whole Disney thing where he was kind of pushed out for those tweets. You know, Zachary Levi can believe what he wants to believe, but like you said, and what James Gunn said, like, you know, everything's moving. Like, I can't just make, you know, these decisions just because I don't agree or disagree with, you know, or agree with something somebody said. But like, again, I think the Ezra Miller thing, completely different, because it's not like they're saying something. They're just like doing these things that are wrong. Yeah. And it's just, you know, it just keeps on. And like
you said, like, it's, even though it's allegedly, they were still charged for it. It's still brought up on charges for. So yeah, I think, you know, just kind of got to see what happens with all of it. Clearly, right now, what happens
with the movie too, it could just like completely, you know, wipe everybody out. You know.
Yeah, I mean, James Gunn said that The Flash is one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Yeah,
and then also, like, what the hell? Let me see if I can look this up here. The Funko Pops leaked.
Oh, okay.
For The Flash today. And, you know, if some of this stuff is true, I'll say, you know, it's pretty interesting. It's some pretty interesting stuff. Let's see here. Does this have everything on it? No, it does not. Of course not. Twitter. Hold up, everybody. There we go. When in doubt, Twitter will have it. There we go. Can you see that? So we have, these are confirmed. They're Funko Pops, finished box Funko Pops. So we know these people are in it and enough to have a Funko Pop. So we have Barry Allen, mainline Barry Allen. Then we have the Barry Allen that we know is going to be wearing some butchered up variation of the bat suit, which has also been in other toy leaks referred to as young Barry Allen. And then this one is also Barry Allen. Again, looks like a younger version with like a training suit or a practice suit on maybe. And then, of course, we have Wonder Woman, who apparently is in The Flash, because that looks like kind of a new variation on her outfit with the red and gold boots. And it looks like there's like a white diamond in the middle of her tiara now, so maybe this is a slightly different suit that we're seeing. It looks like maybe there's even the white shoulder pads going on, or the white trim at the top there. That's looking a lot into a Funko Pop, but could mean something. And then next up is even more interesting here. We got Iris West Allen. It's just cool to see Kiersey Clemens back again. And then we have Batman, who is Ben Affleck's Batman. And then we have Batman, who is Michael Keaton's Batman. And then this little gobbledygook monster thing is being called The Dark Flash. What do you think's going on with that? And there is one more, but it is maybe a little spoilery. Do you want me to... Oh, there it is. Never mind. It just refreshed, and there it is on the screen. All right. Okay, so, yep, the other two that I was just questioning whether I should pull up is General Zod. So Michael Shannon as General Zod, and then Supergirl. What are your thoughts on this? Does this get you any more hyped for the quality that the film could be, or do you just kind of be like, eh? What are your thoughts?
No, I'm excited for it. Again, hopefully the fans think it's as good as it seems everybody else that's seen it already thinks. And Andy Muschietti's a good director. It Chapter 1 and 2. And then what was the other? What was the Mama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I know people that movie. So I'm excited to see what happens in this movie and how it kind of resets everything. Wasn't Michael Keaton cut out of the movie? I thought they cut him.
No, that right? His cameos are in flux with everything else. One of the reports was saying that he was going to be cut from the movie, but then it ended up not being true. You can see how not true it is. This is another Funko Pop. This is Keaton's Batman in his Batwing. Yeah. Which is awesome. Right. Let me see. I didn't even see if there was any more. I guess maybe that's it. But yeah, I mean, super cool stuff and also we're going to get 3-minute trailer at the Super Bowl.
Oh, for Flash?
Yep.
Oh, nice. Yeah, one last thing I just want to touch on. There was something about the Batgirl that was talked about, I believe. Just again discussing film. Peter Safran says Batgirl was not releasable. I actually think that David Zaslav and the team made a very bold and courageous decision to cancel it because it would have hurt DC.
How bad is this movie?
How bad could this movie have been? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. What? Maybe they just absolutely ran crazy. Miss Marvel
3?
And Bad Boys 3, yeah.
Okay, Miss Marvel 2, okay.
Yeah.
Which Bad Boys 4 apparently also.
Back on the menu, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing with Will Smith? Oh, that Guy Ritchie's going to be back for Aladdin 2, and Will Smith and all the other casts are going to be back.
Oh, okay.
For the Aladdin sequel. So with 2 years left on his suspension, Will Smith is doing just fine from the bench. But
maybe somebody will leak this movie somehow.
Leslie Grace said that online recently. She was like,
"Oh, really?"
She was like, "I really just hope that one day somebody who has huge chunks of it will just put it online." It's like, yeah, me too. kind of. I would want to see
Yeah,
it.
because I'm interested now. Like everybody's, it's kind of, I feel like it's been just like absolutely like crapped on since it was canceled.
Last thing here before I guess we head out here. What are your thoughts? Fairly Odd Parents, Fairly Odder, in the middle of its season with 2 weeks to go, has been removed entirely from Paramount Plus with no explanation given.
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah. It's the live action reboot
Is that
of Fairly
bad?
Odd Parents.
Ooh,
I guess
2.6
so.
out of 10 on IMDb.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Wow, I had not looked up that. Okay. That's really bad. That's probably why. Super interesting stuff. Guys, what do you think? What is some of the standouts here for you from the DC slate? From Michelle earlier, I did not read this. It says, I'm not sure how I feel about the DC slate. I feel it's still kind of vague. I'm still uptight about the chopping of Cavill. Also, I hope these characters will be ones I can connect with. Yeah, I think their plan is to make movies for everyone to be able to connect with, or make movies that everyone can connect with, I should say. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else, TJ, you want to touch on before we head out here?
No, I don't think so. I think we're all set.
Perfect. All right. Well, guys, last thing I will leave you with, I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk. Thank you guys for joining us again for this episode of PFNLive, where we're breaking down everything with James Gunn's new slate. And until then, the last thing I'll leave you with is make sure you go ahead and follow us at the official PFN over on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where we are posting stuff all the time. So with that, I will leave it to TJ.
I've been your other host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below what you think about the DC slate or anything else we talked about today. Check out some of the reviews on the channel. Follow us. See you next time.
Boom.